So at the conclusion of her presentation, what we really need at this point is approval of that resolution?
Yes, that they can move forward with
Sure.
the paperwork and the ordinance, and then that will come before you to vote on.
Okay.
They have to create it all. There's no way our attorney can do the ordinance or anything. It's all very detailed
They
paperwork.
have an ordinance already. They have an ordinance prepared, correct?
No,
Is that
not
right?
yet. They probably have a template of an ordinance, but they will attach all of our paperwork and everything to the ordinance, and then we vote on it, and it becomes our official contract for the retirement plan. So this is just to authorize you to move forward.
Sure.
To tell them to start their paperwork.
Understood. That's my fault. Doesn't oversight there. Members of the council, what we need to do is actually entertain a motion for 12D, which is consideration and approval of the resolution authorizing the Georgia Municipal Employee Benefit System to move forward with an ordinance that they would create and other financial documents to establish the city's defined benefit plan and a 457 plan. At this point in time, I'd like to entertain a motion for that.
I make a motion for the consideration and approval of resolution authorizing the Georgia Municipal Employees Benefit System to move forward with an ordinance and other official documents to establish City of Mableton's defined benefit plan and a 457 plan.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second.
Being moved and seconded, I'll call the question. All those in favor of consideration of approving, sir. Oh, do you have
Yeah, just
discussion? Okay.
discussion. So once they bring this back, do we have to go through 2 more reads of what they bring back?
I think we do have to do
We
2
do.
reads on an
Yes.
ordinance, so we're looking several months down the road before we can even have our retirement plan going, so yes.
And that's
'cause-
why she said by October, we could have something done. Okay.
Yes. They will draft it, but we will have to adopt it as a normal ordinance.
Right. Okay, sorry.
That's fine. Any other discussion, questions? So I'll call the question. All those in favor of the approval of the resolution authorizing Georgia Municipal Benefits System to move forward with an ordinance and other official documents to establish the City of Mableton's defined benefit plan and 457 plan, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. And I'm assuming, Madam Clerk, you will get back with GMA and
Yes.
have them move forward. Okay. Thank you. I do appreciate that. That takes us to item E, which is consideration and approval of American Engineers Agreement for design and construction of 6116 Mableton Parkway, and allows the mayor to negotiate and execute this agreement. Mr. Manager, you want to give us an update or a summation of this approval?
Yes, sir. We have, I should have, is Kelly here from Taylor Townsend? Will you come up? This is a agreement where we notice we have secured a space at 6116 Mableton Parkway to begin having workspace for our code enforcement team and our plan reviewer. You can go up. Yep. And this is going to authorize the mayor to execute the contract to go into agreement for them to do construction management. They've already done design, and I'll let Kelly speak to where we are in that phase and what happens. But once you approve this, this allows them to start pulling permits and going, getting the work started, getting the contractors so we can get the place built out. And I imagine Kelly can kind of give you all a timeline of what it would take in the whole process of having it built. So,
Sure.
yep.
Kelly Brown with Turner &
Is
Townsend.
your mic on?
Hello?
Yep, yep.
Yep. Kelly Brown with Turner & Townsend Heery. We should have the plans done by the end of August, which means permitting in September and then construction October to the end of December.
And I do have concept. We have some concept plans here, if you want to see them. I was going to actually show this. It's actually in another setting, but for right now, if they need to see it, I'll bring them out.
Thank you.
Kill more trees.
And Kelly, I'm sorry, I should give you one of the copies, huh?
Thank you.
As you recall, we had the lead on one suite. The second has become available, and we found some ability to do some cost savings by combining the two. These two spaces will be connected, and they will allow us to have our code enforcement officers, our plan reviewers, and perhaps our business license folks in that space. Questions?
You said that they're going to be connected now?
Yes, sir. They'll be connected.
Right now, I see them. I just remembered that was part of the conversation that we weren't going to connect it, but now we are.
Oh, yes, sir. So the plan not to connect them was a fire marshal recommendation to go in and get occupied, but they're confident with the minor adjustment. There was already a door there. When we went and saw the second suite, there was already a door there. So we realized it wouldn't be as complicated as we thought. And actually, there's going to be cost savings. When you have all the contractors on the scene at the same time, you got your plumbers on the scene, instead of them having to come back and set up and do two different bathrooms, they'll be able to execute this as one.
That is correct. And the break room is in one of the spaces, so it makes sense to connect them.
I'm sorry, say that again?
The break room is being shared, so it makes sense to have the connections between the two spaces.
Yeah, I see that.
Got it. And you said completion end of December? So
End
in
of December,
construction
yes, sir.
speak, does that mean January?
No, it will be December.
Okay.
We're going to try to push them to get done a little quicker than December.
That is correct.
City manager?
But again, this is a resolution to authorize them to go ahead and enter into this phase where they would do contract and construction management and carry out the whole process, oversight, and at the end, deliver us a place ready for our staff employees to work. This would, in effect, be our operations, not administration, but our operations building.
Where is it?
Mr. Manager, my question, I guess, around this design and layout, it looks definitely like it covers our need.
Yes, sir.
I do have a question around when I was looking at the scope of services and what will be built out. I question the build-out and around the physical security apparatus we'll have, whether it's secured access, secured space, badge access, which I'm assuming we're going to have. Can you speak a little bit to the security components of that as it relates to this layout?
We talked about the engineering and that cost, and so right now there's options that we could key code the doors and give codes. There's different options where you can have the employees can have an access code and they have to patch a code to get through the door. And if an employee for some reason is no longer with us, we can change the code. That right there may be the most cost-effective way. But if the council decides that they'd rather have badge access, we could. But I think that's going to be from what I'm told, that's going to probably be a little bit more expensive than some of the technology that's available just to localize and access with a security code that you punch in the door, just like you would in an Airbnb. You can go and punch in. They have doors like that now that they can insert into the door.
I would strongly ask that we look at a centralized badging system, because as we grow and as we look at potentially having other space, the ability to have a centralized system that controls the security of who gets in, and not just into the front, but into other secured areas maybe.
Yes, sir. You know that, Kelly?
Yes, I did. We can look into that, absolutely.
Thank you.
And the other, along those same lines, I don't see the cameras listed anywhere, security cameras around the office. And as I'm looking at the excluded from the scope of work, so do you have a low voltage, an IT person that's going to run all that cable and do all that sort of thing?
Well, the general contractor can hire someone to do that, yes, as a separate service.
Yeah, the way this works is the management firm goes out and finds contracts to do all the work, and you get the plumbers, the electricians, and all that. Now, we have not, to be honest with you, Mr. Ferguson, we did not include cameras in here, but that's the purpose of tonight, for you all to review it. If that's a request, I will state that all that stuff can run the price up. But right now it's quoted, we don't have cameras, but we'd be glad to look at, Kelly, that's what we're here for tonight, if you would note.
Okay.
Security cameras and a central badge system.
What about external appearance? Do we have any type of agreement with the landlord or the building owner as far as making the place look nicer? I'm just asking, right? Whether that's signage, signage out front, painting, pressure washing. I mean, and if that falls onto us, that's fine. But I would like to know that.
No,
there's agreement.
I think within our lease agreement, which the city attorney has reviewed, there are terms on what we're responsible for and what they're responsible for. I'll be honest with you, I don't know it off the top of my head, but that is also incorporated in the lease, which we'll be discussing one of them later. This is 2, but that could certainly be, make sure it's spelled out.
Okay, thank you.
So I have one last question, and I'll be quiet. When I look at this, I see lobby intake on one side with reception, but you got to go through a door, and I'm assuming a window there to get to reception. But on the other side, where it talks about the business license kiosk, there's a door. Where does that person sit that is doing the...
Are you talking about if I'm looking at the file, that is 115 door, the door at 115?
Yes.
And you want to know where would someone sit?
Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I'm talking about 116. The front entrance is right there, 116A, top right.
Okay.
And then it says lobby, business license kiosk. Where is the person's desk? Is that 116?
No, sir, that is strictly for the public. When we talk with our Nairi, our business license clerk, we ask for her input, and she says during the heavy season she could have a rush. And so instead of having people stand out in parking lots, having a long line around the door, we wanted to create enough lobby space where they could come in and have a seat there until someone could bring them back to discuss a specific issue about their business license. That kiosk is something that Ms. Nairi wants to set up, that people can actually come in and get on the computer and process their business license with just minimum help. If they're not able to do it at home, we're trying to get everybody to go to the automated system. So what we want to do there is allow them, if they don't have a computer at home, they can't get to the library, and we don't have anyone to help them, we'll have staff there that can go out to the kiosk and help them process their occupational tax license. And so there's no seat necessary there at that 116. That is going to be the kiosk, I guess, a stand with a laptop and the ability to go and do it. I think right now, a few of you have had to meet some people at the library and show them how to process their business license. We'll have it centralized where they can do it right there. So no seat there at 116. Those chairs on the wall are for lobby for our citizens that may need to wait. And if someone needs special attention, they will come to the back, be invited to the back right there at the door. I think it is, got my glasses on.
116B?
116B, yes, sir. They will come back. Our staff would escort them. If we need to bring a group of people in, they will go into the conference room and have a discussion.
Okay, so then how are they going to alert the person, somebody?
The front is going to have a glass insert that gives visibility, so when you walk in, you will see people come in. We stressed that we wanted some form of light and visibility right there at the opening. There's an opening there that I think it's designed where it would be open and we could hear, and we could institute necessarily a notification, but right now, the plan is that when we walk in, people can see, if we're sitting back there, we can see people coming in.
Okay, I could go on, but...
Yeah, we can get into the details.
I'll play around with that.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure, because I'm looking at it and I'm like, you're going to have people banging on the window?
No, sir, no, sir, no, this place, this is going to be staffed. We're going to have, as you know, right now, we've established full open hours, which we'll announce on the website soon, right here at the Epicenter. When this place is staffed, it'll have open hours from 8:30 to 5. Staff will be, somebody will be in there. And the reason we have it joined is that they can support each other. Code enforcement officers be in the space, you'll have your business license folks in the space, and then if we need plan reviews, so they'll all be working there together. I don't plan to have that place abandoned or not staffed.
Is there a plan for a public restroom for anyone who visits and is waiting? All the restrooms.
No, those restrooms are designed for staff. We kind of want to give them a space where they feel secure and separated from the public. So we have a male and female bathroom and then one unisex bathroom next to the break room. But we did not design this. We only have about 3,200 square feet here, a little bit less than 4,000. We didn't design it to have public come in and use the bathroom. But I'm quite sure if somebody had to, if somebody really had to go, staff would take them back and let them use the bathroom.
Okay.
Any more questions? Kelly, you all, I think the next, if this is approved, you all will start your permitting process?
We would start movement on the plans into design development.
Okay.
My only comment is, Mr. Manager, there's a lot of file cabinets I'm looking at in here, and I don't know that we're going to plan on keeping that much paper unless the state or someone else says that we need to.
Those are records retention, Ms. Clerk can refer to. Those are records retention rule, and I think you know as we do our planning and zoning, we're bringing over some boxes, and there's going to be folks bringing in plan reviews. We would love to be totally digital. I know you want us to go there, Mr. Mayor, but it's going to take a little time.
A lot of file cabinets, sir, a lot of file cabinets.
Yes, sir.
All right, with that being said, does anyone else have any other questions for our presenter or for our city manager? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
With that being said, I would like to consider or entertain a motion to consider and approve of the American Engineers Agreement for design and construction of 6116 Mableton Parkway and allow the mayor to negotiate and execute the agreement. Before I entertain that, though, Mr. Manager, just for clarity's sake, this does stipulate 6116. Now that we're talking about two sides, is this still going to be considered?
Yes, sir, it is still it will be still 6116, but there are two suites, you're correct, Suite 140 and Suite 144. When we do give out literature, we'll tell everybody address is 6116. We may add the suite on there, but yes, sir, this is for, they know they're looking at it, they're going to pull, oh, Kelly sat down now. We're looking at pulling one permit for both spaces.
Yes, one permit for both suites.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Saves us time and money.
Sure, okay. All right, with that being said, I'll entertain the motion now.
I'd like to make a motion for consideration and approval of American Engineers Agreement for design and construction of 6116 Mableton Parkway, Suite 140 and 144, and the mayor to negotiate and execute agreement.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any comments, any other questions around this matter? Hearing no other discussions, I'd like to call the question. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. Thank you. We'll now move to item 12F, which is consideration and approval of an agreement with Chit-Chat Communications for the mayor to negotiate and execute an agreement. Mr. Manager, would you like to provide comment on this matter?
Yes, sir. I have Ms. Carla Morrison's going to come up and give us a brief on what she is. This is a opportunity. As you know, we do not have a communications and community engagement director hired yet. We're working on a process, but I've had a few council members mention that they would like to let their constituents know what they're doing, what's going on in the city. And right now, we haven't been as active as we should on our social media and letting the constituents know, other than a few town halls, which were very successful. But Ms. Carla Morrison is going to be able to explain what she can do to make sure that we're communicating with the constituents what's going on here in the city. Ms. Morrison.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Carla Morrison. I am the Executive Director of Communications for Chit-Chat Communications. a PR firm, an innovative PR firm here in the city of Mableton. I'm actually a new resident of Mableton, just 2 months in, and I'm really excited to be a part of this new city. I participated in your 1-year anniversary, and that was really fun for me. But the objective that we have set up for the city of Mableton is to develop, implement, and maintain a plan of action for an online newsletter, social media campaign, and website. We will focus on influencing residents to lean into the city, grow, thrive, and get involved with Mableton. We will amplify the message to the residents and elevate the city to be known as one of the most industrious and populous cities in Cobb County. And we plan to do that through the newsletter, social media, and website. Do you have any questions?
Thank you for your presentation today, and I've looked through most of the information that you provided. My question is around, I guess, a general statement to begin with, because as we continue to talk about adding services, not necessarily services to transition the city, but as we start to mature as a city, I guess I'll say, I've said before and I'll say again, our goal and our plan is to organically grow this city government. And part of that means that we're still looking at hiring department heads and looking at hiring specific talent as employees of the city to be able to move forward. Now, with that being said, we understand that sometimes we need additional help, a shot in the arm, a way to accelerate some things. And in full disclosure, we've had some starts and haven't quite gotten to where we want to be. So bringing in outside consultants is something that I think is supportive. I support it, but it does not supplement, or it does not go in contrary to our goal into bringing in full-time talented staff. So when I noticed that from a salary impact perspective, this is basically, the funds is basically offset from what we'll be paying the communications director. I want to be clear that the goal, at least for myself, is not that we eschew the plan of hiring a communications director, that this is simply a matter for us to get some solid communication efforts up and off the ground in a much quicker, substantial format. So I just want to make that statement to make it clear, because we was asked where our direction is with the city. We are absolutely still going to move forward with hiring a communications director. And if this motion is approved, I'll be looking with Frank and our finance team to ensure that this contract does not limit our ability to actually go out and hire a full-time communication director. So I wanted to make that statement first. As to a question, one of the things that's going to be critical to me as we utilize you or any service we bring on is the momentum, the service level agreements, and how we are able to define our growth. Right. So one thing I did not see in here was tracking and reporting on the growth of either social media or newsletter consumption. We look to have opportunities to grow our newsletter, to grow our email list, but I want to make sure that there are tangible, reportable efforts that we can see, whether that's on a month-over-month or week-over-week, to how we're actually growing, how we're specifically touching people, and how many people we're actually touching. And if we could work to set some goals towards that, and then have some reportable actions on how close we are to hitting those. Is that something that you could actually make happen?
Definitely.
And commit to into this agreement?
I could commit to it, yes.
Thank you.
I have a question. Can you speak to how your company and your experience compares or is different from maybe other companies that offer the same type of services? And what advantage would you provide for Mableton that another company would not be able to do?
Well, we don't really compare ourselves to other companies. We just do the work. We're great at amplifying messages, and we've done it for government entities as well as cultural organizations and educational organizations. And we always exceed. So far, we have 100% track record of exceeding expectations for our clients. And so with this, we do set marks. We know that there are 78,000 residents in the city of Mableton. However, we're starting with a newsletter. If we were to start it, we would start with a 40,000 membership subscriber base. And we would expect to get the subscribers before our term is up. So if that would be a 6-month contract or a 12-month contract, we would have that in place. And so we're able to amplify messages through our different methods because we do public relations. We don't just do newsletters and websites, but we do full-fledged public relation campaigns. And so some of those techniques we would use in infusing to get others involved with the newsletter, with the website.
And I can address Ms. Hernan. In my research, what did distinguish Chit Chat Communications is that I talked to another city on how they were doing their newsletters and how they were doing their social media. They had it disjointed. They had one person over social media, had another person over newsletters, and then I asked them what the cost was, and they were, matter of fact, I got one person here. I gotta be careful what I'm saying. One of the people here that does that is here. So they have newsletters handled by one person, social media handled by another, and in some cases, the content is written by staff, or the content may be written by councilman. What I wanted to make clear with Ms. Morrison is that I don't think you all have time to write content or time to take pictures, and she said she could actually interview, meet with you all, and get the content and get the pictures and do what it takes to get the stuff produced. So that was one thing that separated her. Another thing that separated her is that we're getting a trifecta here where I said I need occasional updates to our website. Closings, holidays, any type of event. And she did say that was not necessarily her forte, but on a minimum basis, she would be able to go and do what we call updates, and so I wouldn't have to task a council person to update the website when we have something. And then the social media piece. So to get social media, newsletter, community engagement, photography, and website, to catch all of it in one spot, that is not unique for most communication firms.
A quick question on that, just on that. Is press release also included in the scope, or is that, and that brings me to my question, are there any other services that would be out of scope that we'll have to pay for, or are we paying for all of the services that you render?
So you all would be only paying for the newsletter, the social media, and the website updates. When it comes to the public relations in terms of press release and distribution to the media outlets, that's a whole nother category. Right now, I wanted to focus on the things that I understand that you all need immediately. However, in terms of handling press, that's what our company is. That's what we do. That's our specialty. And we can offer that to you, but right now we just wanted to just introduce ourselves to you, let you know some of what we can do. And if you all are ready to move forward with the big things, we can make that happen. That's easy for us.
The resolution in the contract does not include that right now.
Hi, I have a question, and thank you. I know you've been doing this for 25 years. I saw on your website, so thank you for that. But I had a specific question around, I know our requirements may be a little bit different, but can you provide a use case of a government that you work with and some of the things that you were able to do in a little bit more detail? I know newsletter and social media campaigns and things of that nature, but can you talk through a use case for me?
Yeah, so we work with the City of Atlanta. We actually work with the Workforce Development Agency within the City of Atlanta, and I was the person who created the newsletter. Now, when I did that, this was the hard copy newsletter. So we did the hard copy newsletter, and within that division, there were so many different departments within that division. I actually had to interview and talk to different people, the different services that they provided, the customers that they worked with to create some of these stories. And so I did that for, a period of, I believe, 6 months. I've also worked with Councilwoman Andrea Broome, and with her, I was doing some community engagement. I've also done it with the DeKalb County, some community engagement. So I've worked with different government entities doing different aspects of the services that we provide. Some, it's newsletter writing. Others, it's public relations. Others, it's, community engagement.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, and I even did some PR for the mayor, the former mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms.
From a PR perspective, my biggest question comes around the creation of an online newsletter. Is that not our website that we just update?
I'm sorry,
Or
repeat
is
your
it
question.
something that is being emailed out?
I think that's email.
So I'm sorry.
Yes, no, go ahead and answer that question. How would you do the subscription?
So how that would work, how would I create the subscribers, get the subscribers?
So that's going to be an email subscription that when they opt in, then you would email them a
Right.
newsletter. Okay.
And then we have different ideas of how we can get more of the residents in the city of Mableton to opt in through QR codes and things of that nature, as well as text messaging and things of that nature. So that's how we would get their information to then distribute the newsletter. And we would look at the newsletter being something that's monthly. So something that may be happening in the future, something that maybe immediately just happened, a past. That's kind of what your newsletter is. It's to just inform the community of what's happening right now, in the future, maybe an immediate past. Your website would be your mainstay. That's the things that go on a regular basis, or the 3 different departments that the City of Mableton will be governing, as well as what's going on in the mayor's office with city council. And then you all are going to be hiring different people, so your HR, your employment. So those would just be different tabs on your website. And then your social media, that's kind of your daily, something's happening. We have road blockage. We need immediate, people to know immediately. That's something we would also put on the website. So there's just different ways of communicating the messages that go on. I heard some of the people speaking earlier about different things that were going on, and they were like, well, how do we find out, about a meeting? And those would be the ways, your social media, of course, but also your newsletter. It could come out at the first of the month, every month, and so they know what's happening for that month. They know what's happening in July. So it's just different methods of communicating what you all are doing. How can they utilize you? Because this is a new city, a lot of your residents don't even know who their particular council person is and how they can utilize, what can you do for me? And I noticed because as soon as I got here, I started talking, and I started asking questions to residents, friends that I've had in the city of Mableton for a while. One has been here for 30 years, one has been here for 25, another has been here for 15, and another has been here for 5. And I said, well, who's your city council? And they didn't know. So this would be a way of introducing them. And I said, well, come with me tonight. I'm going to introduce you to your city council person. So most of them are here tonight.
My last question would be, can you direct me to maybe a relatively new example of what your newsletter, I mean, I know it varies from place to place, but I would love to take a look and see.
Yeah, I sure can. I actually, Mr. Tanks, I sent him a copy, and I could forward it to you immediately after this, just something that I actually did for Chit Chat Communications, and it highlights our clients. We use it. In our case, we use it to market our clients and market our business to say, hey, this is what we've done this month with our clients. Just last month, I worked with one of my clients, getting him on Good Morning America. And so, of course, that was a big deal, and we highlighted it in our newsletter, along with other things. One of my other clients was just raving about some of the work that I did. He flew in to the city, and I took him around, and he did a number of interviews, and so he did a little short video, and we highlighted that. So that's what we use it for Chit Chat Communications. But in the case of the city of Mableton, we would make sure that everyone knows this is what's going on in Mableton. Come and be a part of what's going on in Mableton, be it your activities, like your one-year anniversary that I participated in, or just what you're doing in your district. What's happening? I remember when I first met you, Councilwoman Jeff Cole, she was like, make sure you come to this event. It was something that was going on, and I couldn't figure out where it was happening, which is why I didn't come, but that's something that will be highlighted in the newsletter, as well as the website if needed. But like I said, the website is your mainstay. That's for your different departments. I know there's 3 different departments that you all kind of have that'll be in that office. So that will be kind of to have that information, whatever they're doing. It would also be, whatever the mayor is doing, he would have a message or something of that nature, telling residents this is what's happening. So there's just different ways and reasons that you use certain entities and tools to communicate. Thank you.
And are the newsletters and social media, that's not just for the city, but each individual council person?
The newsletter?
Yes. You said the newsletter is just the city of Mableton, but do you offer, do you manage the social media also for each individual council person?
Well, I thought there was one. I actually am on the page, the Mableton, City of Mableton Facebook page, and I don't see a Instagram for City of Mableton. I see something that says City of Mableton, Georgia, but there's nothing on there at all. So I don't know if any of you have created it but just didn't do anything with it, or if somebody else has. But that's what I'm offering that I would manage. Now, we can manage anything you need us to manage. However, what we're proposing tonight is to manage your Facebook page, which you already have established, and then create you an Instagram page.
Yeah.
Do we also include other social media form, for example, Nextdoor? For example, the county has a Nextdoor page where they share information, or are you also able to create something similar for the city of Mableton?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we offer all of those services. We were just, when we looked at your social media, we were looking at also who is here, who are the residents, and the age group. And that age group dictates that you definitely do Facebook, and that you probably do Instagram too, right? And so that's what we focused on. But we're familiar with Nextdoor, and we can also offer that. Like we said, we do social media, we do public relations. So we do those things, and we can offer more. Right now, we just wanted to kind of introduce ourselves to you, share some things that we can do with you. When you talked about managing and having expectations, like that's manageable for right now. Yeah. And as you grow, we can go into all those other.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so happy we're doing this, because I know myself and Councilman Ferguson are in charge of the city's Facebook page, and we're doing a horrible job at it. We really need help.
I think, go ahead, Councilwoman, do you have anything else? So this contract that we're looking at, I think is just from the questions, there's a tremendous number of facets to this, right? I mean, we also, that Instagram page is actually being squatted on, so I'm actually working with Meta to try to get control back of that. We do have a YouTube channel, which isn't exactly active yet because we're still using those folks back there at Icon, but we do have our own. So, and I mean, the list can go on, right? When you say social media, there's many different aspects of that. Even when you're talking about posting or, you know, the number of newsletters that go out or how much content that it has. Bottom line is that turns down to expertise and to time. Right? I'm hearing that you have the expertise. The time component to this obviously dictates the price per month, but it also dictates how much services we get, right? How many different updates, and I know it says 2 to 3 updates per week on social media platforms. Well, if that's 5 platforms, then, you know, that's 15 postings. But if there's 2 platforms, you know, you see what I'm saying? That goes back to time. So I am positive and have an affirmative thought about moving forward, but I also think that there's a lot of other discussions that need to happen to get a contract that is very clear about, I mean, your time is your money.
Right.
But the results that we get out of that is based on what our citizens are going to see as to what the actual output is. So I'm supportive of this, but I know that I'm expecting that there's going to be a lot more detail that needs to come out of the actual contract as far as what you're actually going to provide. This I totally see as a high level aspect, but as we talk about content calendars and what gets posted when, and I'm thinking of things like pixels and tracking and how we are reestablishing ourselves. If they go on one site, are we tracking to the other site? What are you doing around cookies? There's a whole lot of questions that I have that, quite frankly, isn't set for this meeting, but that I'll absolutely want to go into. And I'll also fully acknowledge that this is a very important, but this is only one component to an overall communication strategy. I do believe this is, I mean, we're doing bits and pieces, but I'm happy to see if we can get this online. But I want to be clear that this isn't a full communication strategy, which I know you know, but I want to make clear that as we're talking through this, as we go forward. So again, just a statement to make is that if we decide to go forward with this, there is a lot more to this contract that needs to be fleshed out.
So, I mean, with that comment, I feel the exact same way, but with that comment, we're being asked to approve.
No, you can actually, y'all do not, most of these items, I'm sorry, I thought somebody say something. Most of these items, obviously, we bring up for council. You don't have to. We can defer if you want. But let me make very clear what my intention with this was. A newsletter that reaches out to the constituents. Someone updating our website. And in my mind, it was limited to right now to our existing social media site, which was Facebook. Now, if we want to go back and make it a little bit more robust, this is more of a stopgap measure. As the mayor has mentioned, tomorrow I'm speaking with our HR firm. We're getting ready to start our entire process of hiring. We'll be going out to get a communications engagement director. Ms. Carla may apply, who knows. But that was the initial intent of this, was not to, I mean, there's so much, like you say, open door, there's so many levels of communication. I'm glad the mayor brought it out. This is not a communication strategy. This is not the full package of what a communications director would do. They would have a department of people handling certain portions. With this, I want to make sure somebody can get a newsletter out, make sure that we can get that Facebook at least properly attended, because people will stop going to your Facebook site if they don't hear any updates. And they see you're not putting anything new on there, why would they go? Then they can get tagged. And then also the website. When we need to have certain things put on the website, sometimes it can be challenging to get it done. But if we can have someone who can say, hey, we need to put this on, we're going to be closed on this day, we're going to have a holiday on this day, to have somebody that can handle that immediately. So that was the initial, that was the intent. If you want it to be a little bit more robust, you all could defer, and we can discuss more. I'm quite sure the price would change. But for the price that I have here, and it does say social media platforms.
Right.
We need to
We can clear that up. That we can have this, as our city attorney would say, in a substantial form. But I do want to make sure my intent was the stuff that we have that is existing, in addition to the newsletter that's not being addressed properly now.
Yeah, and so just for clear, I'm seeking for clarity as far as, like we said, platforms versus platform, how many, it is a substantial difference, right? And knowing that time is money. Now, and I don't know that anything's on here specifically about website.
Maybe I can, because I packaged it up. So what I offered you all and what you initially have is it comes down to 12 social media updates per month. We were specifically looking at Facebook and Instagram. I know that you mentioned the YouTube page, and then also Nextdoor. And there's so many more, I mean, even LinkedIn. But we also, this package is 12 social media updates per month, 5 website updates per month, and a distribution to 40,000 member subscriber base. That's that package, right? And so if it appears that we exceed that, because the city is so new and you're still trying to engage and develop, activity, I thought this was a great starting point. But of course, you're going to grow, and things are going to happen, and so it will change. But I wouldn't suggest, as a professional, I wouldn't suggest that we want you to do YouTube, we want you to do LinkedIn, we want you to do 5 or 10 different social media platforms when you're still trying to just capture your audience. Right now, you're still capturing your residents. They know it's a city, but they got to know how to connect with you and understand what's going on with the city. And so because of the target audience here in the city, I thought that Facebook is definitely one that everybody probably looks at. And I thought that Instagram would be the other one. Then we could move on to YouTube, to the LinkedIns, to anything else. But this is like a starter package. This is just something we're starting. And then as we grow and people engage, then we can move on to all those other big and great things.
Yeah, for clarification, when you say 12 posts, are you talking about unique posts or are we talking about any post? I mean, if we have a post on Facebook and you duplicate it on Instagram, is that 2 posts? And if you duplicate it on Nextdoor, is that 3 posts? And if we have 12 in a month, then yeah, we will definitely need to exceed that.
Right. Well, that's up to you all. 12 posts for Instagram and Facebook. That's where we were at with that, 12 posts for that. Now, I mean, once we, I don't know, how much you all are doing in each district just yet to really gauge that. But as we move forward, or if we do move forward, then once we can gauge that, we can redefine this and say, okay, because this isn't set in stone. This is what we're offering. We want you all to have an idea of what we can do for you, and then and just see how that works for you. Because like I said, this is 1-year anniversary. You're still developing and connecting with your different constituents. And until you really have them, I wouldn't move that quickly. Well, we can if you want to.
Yes, I think it would be essential and beneficial for us to assess what our actual requirements are a little bit better. And once we've identified that, I would recommend deferring so that we can be very clear on what it is that our needs are, and then that way, it can align with what you're offering in terms of your services.
Okay.
Thank you for that. I don't disagree, and which is why I was kind of going down the road of details around this. I mean, I get overall what we're looking at, but we do have a LinkedIn page.
Okay.
So
I didn't notice that.
we do, right? So if we say, hey, you're going to cover all this, then I don't want next week we go, oh, we have this and we have this, and you're like, oh, we didn't. So to go back to an assessment, to go a needs requirements document around what specifically we need as it relates to social media and a newsletter. I would be happy for us to put that together, be able to present that back to you, because I understand you're creating a starter package for us.
Right.
But to make sure it's customized truly to what we need, I think it'd be beneficial for us to put together a requirements document and give that to you.
Make sure it's for us, right?
Okay.
Because this doesn't even, like I said, doesn't even mention the website,
Yeah.
even though,
So I think.
It mentions the website.
No, what it is, so I had a presentation for you all that we were going to look on the screen, but it's not working. So what you all have is the initial proposal that I shared with City Manager Tanks. And since then, we had a conversation, I followed up, and he told me some more of the needs. And so I submitted another proposal. And so that proposal can be sent to you this evening as soon as this meeting is over, for you all to take a look at. Or we can do it right now, and I can have my business manager to send it to you so you can look at it right now.
no, like the mayor said, and like Councilwoman Jepcoat said, I think we need a very good requirements document, because I don't want to set you up for failure.
Okay.
And let's get a requirements document together quickly that we can get over so that they can update. So I would suggest we defer as well.
I'd like to make a motion to defer this item for.
I second.
My apologies.
No,
Y'all help me.
chit chat.
What number is it?
2.
12A? No. I'd like to make a motion to defer item 12F until another time in the future.
I second that.
A motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion about the item of deferment? Hearing none, I'll call.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I'd just like to make a statement that in the interim of what we decide to do, I am more than happy to help with the Facebook page and social media until we get a more comprehensive idea of what direction we want to go in our community communications engagement going forward.
Great, thank you.
Sweet.
So I'll call the question. All those in favor of deferring the consideration and approval of the agreement with Chit Chat Communications for the mayor to negotiate until a later date, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. Thank you, Ms. Morrison. We appreciate your proposal today. Sorry we couldn't take a look at the presentation. As stated, we will put together a requirements document. We'll get that back to the city manager and then allow you the opportunity to custom build that proposal. At that point in time, we'd ask you to come back.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
Great. Thank you,
All
ma'am.
right, thank you.
And welcome to Mableton.
Thank you.
What district are you in?
I'm in District,
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, okay.
I brought people from District 5.
Hey, 5.
All right, we've got item 12G, which is consideration of approval for amending the city council calendar to reflect a work session meeting for July 22nd at 5:30. I'm assuming that's going to be here at the Epicenter, Mr. Manager. And the reason that this is being, that we're calling for, or we need to discuss this tonight at the council meeting, is because our work sessions are generally scheduled for the first meeting of the month. And being that this is the 22nd, it falls outside of that. So, Mr. Manager, do you have anything else to add for this item?
Yes, sir. Pulling up my item now. City grows in its operations. I think you all may have that in your package. The council is going to be faced with some very important policy decisions process. is enhanced when you have council members can ask critical questions as you have tonight in an environment conducive or conducive to learning and questions about potential agenda items. Currently, City of Mableton will need to give input for their planning and zoning service transfer. As you know, we're getting ready to do one of what we've started already. We approved the contract with IBTS. We already got meetings scheduled with the planning and zoning department of Cobb County. We're ready to kick it off. And then one of our subs, Mr. Hosack, has kind of gotten ahead of the curve, and he's ready to come to the council with some policy-based decisions. This 22nd was selected because we do not have a council meeting in July because of the summer break. Our next one is July 24th, and so we don't slow it down another month for the service. I felt to get it on the calendar as soon as possible. This also, I would also take advantage of this work session and have a report from our HR firm to allow this kind of a discussion. Also, a more robust report from our financial services firm. And I think at that time, we're going to have, allow you to ask some critical questions about pension and possibly, if the city attorney desires, some more information on the URA.
It's a Monday.
It's a Monday.
Yeah, it's a Monday, and then it will be, well, obviously we have a council meeting that Wednesday.
I have a question. Are there any other dates that could be considered? I mean, we haven't had a poll on everyone's schedule, but I know I will be out of the country until the 24th, so.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
Councilwoman Jeffcoat won't be on the date either.
So, yeah, this was obviously, when I put something before the council, it's a recommendation. I'll give my reason for the recommendation, but if it's not something the council desires to do, you all can make that decision.
I want to be clear, I don't think the council does not want to have the work session. I think it's just a question around what date.
Yeah, no, what I meant on the 22nd. If you don't want to do it on the 22nd, yeah.
Are these the work session items, this is for our next meeting, does it have to be before the 24th, or?
It's typically good to have the work session before your council meeting, so you, like tonight, we've done a lot of discussion. And if you get it worked out where you can get out of discussion out of the way, you come to a council meeting, you can run through that agenda pretty quickly. So I kind of wanted to tee it up like that, but it's not required. If, especially with the planning and zoning, they have specific, and the mayor's even talked, we got specific things that may take up a full work session. They don't have to be tied to a council meeting. That was just my proposal and my recommendation because they were right there together.
Thank you. Would the week before be okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like, does that work for everyone? Like the week before it, the 22nd, not the week of the 22nd, but before it, that way?
To the 15th.
We're good to 15.
Yep.
That would be it. Any particular date?
Would they be, do we need to wait to see if they're available for that day, for that week?
You know, I could, I'm checking right now. July 15th is, what day is the 15th?
Well, the week of the 15th, that's a Monday.
Oh, the week of the 15th.
Yes.
You're going to get rid of your summer break?
Okay. So the week of the 15th, I'm sorry, I thought we were 15th or 16th. I am gone 17th through the 24th.
Wow, okay.
I'm just going to ask, can we find a more efficient or streamlined way of kind of doing this? I know I fully respect it. I mean, I think everyone's going to have some conflicts. It's the middle of the summer. Mr. Manager, I don't know if anybody is comfortable with signing off on the 22nd or another date. And as for to go through this exercise right now, quite frankly, I don't know if it's good use of all of our times. Is this something we could possibly take offline?
Yeah.
Do a doodle, come up with. Now, the question is the people that you have lined up to ensure that that they're available during this time. But in just the sake of timing and trying to make sure this is all coordinated so we can have as many people at the work session as possible, I think we probably just need to do a poll, as was mentioned earlier, and see if we can come up with a time that works for everyone.
Yes, sir. I could just be mindful. I think if we don't, of course, you all, it's your direction. Our next meeting is July 24th. We would probably end up in August, which is okay with me because some of this is tied to stuff that's going to happen. So if you all would kind of let me know what works, and then I'll check back in with those folks, especially the planning and zoning folks that are doing the lift, sift, and shift.
Sure.
And just make sure it works for them. They're the primary ones. Of course, our pension plan is going to be a little bit detailed too. That's a big decision. So yes, sir, I'll be glad to. Once I get some dates from you, I can check with those and then follow up.
Again, the goal was to have this work session prior to the 24th, or even potentially on the 24th.
Well, he's saying that it's not as critical. We could wait until August, but again, I think we just take it offline and doodle it up and all that sort of thing
Yeah.
to find the right day. So
Now, we will be out of meeting status once y'all make that. Is that correct?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
So if you're not going to do doodle tonight, correct?
No.
So I'm saying that when we all make a decision, we won't be in a position to make a decision as a council, I don't believe.
Well, we could have one of the assistants just reach out to the council and say, what are your conflict dates and what are your preferences?
I think the question is, how do we officially get another meeting scheduled without having a meeting to schedule that meeting?
Well, that can be done by the mayor by giving notice to the other council members or by 4 council members agreeing.
Yeah, we can do it that way.
So we need to pass, or
Yeah, 4 council members can collectively agree to call any meeting.
And a work session is a meeting, so.
Yeah, you can
once
do it
we-
during the meeting too, but if you want to do it outside of the meeting,
Sure.
then one council member can contact another and say, do you agree to have a meeting? And as long as there are 4 who are on board, you can do that at any time. Or the mayor can unilaterally set a meeting as long as he gives notice to each council member.
And we've spent 8 months doing that, so. We're well versed in doing that, I
I'm
think.
not sure why this is new.
So I think that's the course of action. I think we could probably table this item and then just determine another date which we could all meet for the work session.
Table it, or, because then we got to take it off the table and all of this sort of thing. Okay, we got a dirty table. All right, so Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to table item 15G, consideration approval of amending the city council meeting calendar to reflect a work session meeting for July 22nd at 5:30.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor of tabling the consideration and approval of amending the council meeting?
Can I make a suggestion that we just make a motion to deny it, because we know that date's not good, and that way you leave it open to...
Yeah, we don't even know at all.
Okay.
But I made a
mean,
motion.
we know we're not going to have the meeting on July 22nd, so, okay.
But I made a motion.
Yeah. So all those in favor of tabling the amendment of the city council meeting calendar, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Thank you. The ayes have it. And this takes us down to 12B, which is financial report and authorization of the government for FY25 spending plan, as I think you all know, we approved a spending plan that is due to expire on June 30th. We're at a point now where the city manager has talked a lot about bringing in additional help to build out our financial team, so to speak, and I've spoken personally with some of them. They're ready to go, putting things in place. The city manager continues to meet with them. This still leaves us in the situation where, as right now, we still have a spending plan that's set to end at the end of the month. So we need to do something about that to ensure we stay in our own compliance. Again, I'll be clear that we are still within our 2-year transition period in which the state does not require us to have a budget. The spending plan was a way for us to show our transparency and also have some guiding principles to be clear about what money we were bringing in and where we were spending the money as it related to our expenses. So with that being said, I know that our finance consultant, Frank Malazzi, as well as the city manager, wanted to discuss this item of the interim FY25 spending plan, which is basically a bridge that will cover a gap of 90 days while the financial team works to put together a plan for what will be our rest of the year spending plan. We're still not quite budget, but it's still going to be another spending plan. So with that, Mr. Malazzi, would you approach?
And Frank, before you get started, and Mayor, you explained that very well, you're going to have a handout here from Allison. I would advise not to try to comprehend that thing by reading it. It would be best to let Frank navigate it. Frank is going to introduce one of our financial services firms, Mr. Chris Pike, and then he'll do a presentation on the proposed interim spending plan, and then our city attorney has the recommended motion that she may have. Yeah, we were not able to print the resolution because some complications with printers upstairs, so you all may have to go and check your email for the recommended resolution. It has a certain structure that aligns with requirements. So that whoever makes the resolution, if you have the email from the city attorney, I think that we just send it out. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's not, yeah. So Lily graciously just sent it out, so you have it in your email, and it is consistent with the previous spending plan. I think the only difference is that we've included more language that speaks to the city manager, as well as the previous threshold was 5,000, which has been increased to 10,000, subject to being consistent with what you approved in the spending plan.
All right, Frank?
So my job will be in several sections. It will be, the first one will be, I'll introduce Chris. Chris is not new to many. Most of us we know who have been in local government. He has been presenting, and he's a CPA. So he is assisting us as a CPA who definitely need audit. He's part of the SAMTA financials. And then after that, after he finishes, then I will present the report that you have. Unfortunately, you may not see it clearly, but you see the report. And the report will be divided into two. I'll go in details. Then thereafter, I'll hand over to the manager. Then the manager will work with you and finish what we are talking about to adopt this one that we have. So, Chris, here's your time.
Thank you, Frank, and good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
It's good to see a lot of you again. I know I've met many of you in Athens a few months ago, and it was a pleasure then, and it's certainly a pleasure to be asked back by the city manager and collectively you through the agreement. Wanted to kind of let you know, when we got the green light, we really hit the ground running. We got the bank reconciliations all caught up all the way through May. So at this point, the July of last year through May is done. We've accounted for both the bank accounts, the checking and the savings, and come up with some spending categories and all that will be shared with you tonight through the year-to-date spending plan, which will also tee up what you're about to approve for the interim plan for the next couple of months. Our role really in assisting the city manager and you all is to lay some good foundation and some good groundwork for when you bring on your team. They have good policies in place, they have good information in place, they have a good system in place that they can immediately start making impact, rather than having to play catch up with a lot of the things that will help get them ready for. So you can kind of consider us your pediatrician, getting you started in the early years as you get ready for bringing on your staff and getting everything set up on the financials. Have started drafting a lot of the policies that we won't talk about on the 22nd, but we'll talk about at a date to be determined, and getting some of the questions to you as to what you want to see in your policies that will make Mableton unique, because there's obviously many directions that you can go as a city when you're developing your financial backbone with these financial policies. And we want to make sure we ask you the right questions so that we get those policies in place that make it unique and successful for you. Obviously, I'm available to answer pretty much any question that has a dollar sign, whether it be pensions or financial policies or year-to-date financial reports or just what we can and can't do legally as it relates to budgets. Whatever your questions are, I'm definitely a resource. I would encourage you to, reach out to me through the city manager. I'm incredibly responsive and glad to help you through any questions that you might have, both on your current spending reports as well as policies in general. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Frank, pending any questions that you might have, and I'll go from there.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Pike?
All right, good, thanks.
Thank you, Chris.
I do have a question about the resolution itself. On somewhere in here about let's see, in section 1B under authorization, the amount of says the city council must approve any payment, service, purchase, or contract over $10,000. It was originally $5,000. Is there a reason for the increase, and can we put it back to $5,000?
There is a reason for the increase. If I have to wait with some of these constructions and furniture and stuff like right now up in the epicenter, we're putting in furniture, we're buying printers and stuff so staff can operate. If I have to wait each time to come back to council meeting, it would greatly slow me down on getting facilities set up and services established. To be honest, I'm up against a timeline, and we meet twice a month. To have to come back and ask for approval for something over $5,000. We can get one credenza sometimes that would take us over $5,000. And the spending plan, even though it's not a budget, and I'll let the city attorney or the city financial person speak to this, that once you approve the spending plan, that's what I'm beholden to. But there's obviously in that spending plan, the projected expenses, their entire categories. If there's a contract, it has to come back here to the council. I cannot approve a contract. But if there's something, for example, engineering services, to get a concept, a concept set of plans could easily cost $6,000 or $8,000. And if I'm going to come to you all and explain, hey, here's the concept for this particular floor plan, I would have to wait to come to council, get approval, and then have them do it. And it slows me down. But I am here, as the charter says, to work at the pleasure of the council. If you all would like to keep it at 5, I would. I would just say that that's not a practice I've seen in any other city I've ever known of. 5,000 is a pretty low threshold. I understand why you may all have done it, but in my opinion, it's a little restrictive.
You used furniture as an example. Did we not already pass a resolution that you could already spend that amount up to X amount of dollars to?
I'm sorry, say again?
As far, you used like furniture as an example. Did we not already pass a resolution to give you authorization to purchase furniture up to sets?
Yes. Like I had a furniture contract. Another example. But let's look at the. Let's say if you authorize me in an executive session to pursue a lease, and I decide I need to come to you with at least a concept. Engineering services they are typically $6,000 to $7,000 plus. I would take your authorization for me to come back with a concept as a permission to come back with a concept that would cost me, or at least cost the engineering services for a service of $6,000 or so. So I could come back. I would again work at the pleasure of the council. To give my professional opinion, 5,000 is restrictive. We are going to get busy very busy, a lot moving parts, and I will not go outside the spending plan. Before I spend anything, I normally ask Frank, is this authorized, or is this within the spending plan? We have a paper trail. We now have a system set up where all this stuff is monitored. So there's nothing that I would be worried about, but I'm not completely sure the purpose of putting a limit on the spending for a city manager at 5,000. I would be challenged to know what would be the purpose.
Is this just for the city manager, or is this also for the mayor?
Well, great question. The mayor, in my absence, was the CEO. Now that I am here, I have that role. When we started talking about finances, I think y'all had, as an acting CEO, I'm quite sure you had that, but again, if y'all decide 5,000, I will work with 5,000. I just thought, my personal opinion, that it's restrictive.
I think I would prefer 5,000 if it's going to be both the mayor and the city manager amount.
Yeah, so that's what...
Chris, you could come up and speak to that, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is a great example of the questions that will come up as we start discussing a purchasing policy, for example. I will agree with the city manager. I think 5,000 is incredibly low. Professionally, my opinion, I think 10,000 is too low, if I'm going to be completely honest about that. Now, that said, Susan's in the room. She may remember back in 2013, we had a very similar conversation when we were setting up the city of Brookhaven. And they did something that was kind of unique that maybe you want to consider here for this resolution. They implemented a higher threshold, but they also implemented a requirement that the city manager provide written notification before he actually executed. So let's give you an example. Let's say we set up $20,000, and he could at any point do up to 5,000, but if it was between 5 and 20, he would notify you and give you, say, 24 or 36 hours to respond back on, yep, this is fine, continue under your authority to approve up to 20, or no, let's put the brakes on this one. I think we need to have a conversation before you proceed. You can be flexible in something like that, and it would allow him to continue to move quickly, certainly quicker than waiting until the next council meeting, but maybe not instant and completely just immediately starting out. And then over time, as you establish a rapport with the city manager and the city manager starts to understand your expectations, those dollar amounts can increase to rely more on his professional judgment as you mature and as he matures in your current roles. So that's something that you may want to consider if the move to 10,000 is causing heartburn to at least 4 of you. Maybe this is a situation that can help alleviate that. But, since you've asked my opinion, I will tell you I think 10,000 is too low. I really do. Because he's absolutely correct. Some of these professional services and even products and goods that you're going to be getting set up for as you mature into your cityhood, they're going to have some decent-sized price tags attached to them.
Is it common to have a different amount for different positions? Like if we were to up the amount for, say, our city manager, but let's say we're not comfortable with giving the mayor this thing?
Yeah, so as I read your charter, and certainly I would defer to the city attorney on this one specifically, but as I read the charter, the mayor's spending limitations was really more as an interim until you got a city manager in place. As I read it and understood it, he was acting city manager until you got a city manager. So in most cases, it would be the city manager making the regular purchases. And then if you granted the mayor some additional authorities above and beyond what was specified within the charter, then obviously you could certainly do varying amounts for those positions. I would say that anybody below the city manager, so a department head, for example, that should be delegated by the city manager at that point, because ultimately he's responsible for overseeing the staff. So if somebody needs to order a case of paper, they don't need to come to council for that, but that is something that the city manager would approve. If they need 100 cases of paper, then maybe the dollar amount's high enough that it's something that he would need to sign off on, not just delegate the approval levels.
Chris,
So
I have a
short answer is
question.
yes, there would be varying levels.
I have a question. You said the threshold is significantly low if we went with the 10K. On average, what would be, from your experience, an acceptable threshold?
Well, a city this size, 78,000 plus, I would say probably somewhere close to 50,000 is what I would come back and recommend at a later, when we do have our work session. That would be the number that I would put out there. But again, if that's causing some concern, especially giving your early youth as a city, then you could implement that 50,000, but let us know if it's more than 25, and we're going to, we'll give you 36 hours to kind of think about it, then we can proceed or not.
It's worth stressing the difference between a discretionary fund and then threshold authorization. The spending plan sets what you all have agreed on, and if even within that spending plan, if I would exceed that threshold, I would come back to the council and say, hey, you did approve me to buy an electric vehicle for our code enforcement officers. Truck costs $49,000. It's approved in our capital budget, but because of the threshold set, I would come back to the council and say, we're getting ready to purchase a pickup truck for our code enforcement officers. I got a contract to get 3 of them from Ford. That kind of threshold would require me to come back and say, even though it's in the spending plan, I'm about to purchase 3 trucks for our code enforcement officers. It's going to cost us $150,000. But if it's already a spending plan, it allows me to go ahead and start working with Ford, negotiating the price, instead of having to come back and say, hey, I want to purchase a truck.
Yeah, and it's also important to recognize the distinction between a contract and a purchase. A purchase, your electric bill. I mean, I've seen bills, you won't necessarily be managing streetlights, but I've seen $100,000 a month easily from a Georgia Power for a streetlight bill. That wouldn't necessarily come to council every time you got your monthly bill. Health insurance for employees, your retirement monthly contribution. Those are not contracts. Those are just routine purchases. You approve that once during the budget process. As long as you stay within that budget, he continues to make those purchases through the finance department and the internal controls that you establish internally. The items that I'm really referring to are the contracts that would go to council, and those typically have higher dollar amounts attached to them. So I would recommend a number higher than even the 10,000. But again, it is ultimately a policy decision and a council decision on what that number ends up being.
Thank you, Chris.
Mayor, I do have a question too, because listening to what the city manager said and what on this side too, my concern is that we are against a timeline. We're 1 year out into establishing this city. We have to get the services. We have to get everything in place. Now, we just came from the GMA convention, and I talked to cities. Some cities were only 400 people. Some cities were up to 8, 70, whatever. My question to you first, Mr. City Manager, is that if we continue operating like we are, because I'm all about efficiencies and getting things done as quickly as we can and efficiently, and as far as getting things as economically as we can. I consider all those things. But if we continue operating the way we are right now in terms of getting things done, because again, we are on a timeline, and if this slows you down at $5,000, which I have to agree, that sounds like we're a city of maybe 8,000. But be that as it may, if we continue this slows what you have to do down, and we're on this timeline. I don't want it to run. I don't want our lack of efficiency or our slowing down to cause us to start to get to our deadline, and we're still fumbling around trying to get whatever, furniture or refrigerators or whatever, and we have, what now, 12 months, maybe? So, again, in all due respect, I do respect and appreciate that we want to, I guess, save money by operating like we're a city of less than 8,000, I don't know. But we still have to get this city together, and we still have to get things in order. And I'm uncomfortable with operating in less than an efficient manner. So if I'm hearing on this side, we should be having 10 times more than what we have right now in terms of that. And you're saying at least 10? We need to really just forgive me, everybody, but I just have a real problem with what we're doing in terms of efficiency and what we're dealing with in terms of our timeline. I, for one, want the city to succeed, as does everyone here, but I think it bothers me that we're talking about this right now, and we have less than 12 months to get this thing together. So anything that makes the city run efficiently and we can get the things done that needs to be done by the city manager, let's do. I'm not saying necessarily we do 50,000, but come on. So let's just consider what we're doing in terms of getting the city going. And I'm saying this in all due respect, but let's let Mr. Tank, let's equip him with what he needs to equip to get the job done, so that we can get the task done. Otherwise, we'll be here talking about getting a nickel and dime. The nickel and dime stuff, and we've got to get the city. That's my passion, getting this city going. So let's do that.
Thank you, Mr. Councilman.
Yeah, and there's one other component, too, I would add to that. Part of it is, yes, he can operate efficiently and quicker with a higher threshold, but also you as council, this job that you've, for whatever reason, decided you wanted to do, it will take as much time as you allow it to take out of your lives. And it really becomes a question of where do you want to be spending your time and what are your priorities going to be. And if that is talking about items that cost between $5,000 and $10,000, you're certainly within that right to do so. But if you want to be talking about zoning ordinances and service delivery strategies and citizen engagement, and that's where your priorities want to be, then let Bill do his job. Let the city manager's role do what it's chartered to do, and then let you worry about those bigger picture ideas and not the small check items.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the financial report and authorization of an interim FY spending plan not to exceed 90 days.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Considering we've had considerable discussion on this, I'd like to call the question. All those in favor of approving the financial report and authorization of the FY or interim FY25 spending plan not to exceed 90 days, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. Thank you. All right. Thank you again, Mr. Pike and Mr. Malazzi. We do appreciate your time and effort on pulling this together for us. At this point in time, I think this wraps up all the new business that we had. As mentioned earlier, we do not have any old business. So this will take us over to item 14, which is city manager's announcements and comments.
City manager.
Madam, that's okay. Madam Clerk, do you have any comments?
I'm sorry, I was taking counsel. Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Learned a lot at GMA this weekend. I was glad to see the council members that attended. Very proud of how we represent the city. I made a lot of connections down there. I'm very excited about what we have ahead of us. And then I would like to ask the mayor that we go into executive session, sir, for the purpose of real estate and personnel.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, do you have any comments?
I have no really any comments, just a reminder that we do not have a meeting July 10th. It's a summer break unless somebody calls a meeting, but the general schedule is we will not meet on July 10th.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Attorney. Thank you. Councilman Davis.
Yes, again, good evening, everyone. I want to extend again the congratulations to our city manager and the city of Mableton becoming a city of ethics. Also, congratulations to our own Mayor Pro Tem Keisha Jeffcoat and her accomplishment. Barry, you know you're here, but I want to congratulate you too for your award as Citizen of the Year. Great job, sir.
Indeed. Indeed.
And I also want to say that, again, I mentioned that we had gone to the GMA conference this weekend, or 4 or 5 days, and it didn't disappoint. I'm always impressed by the level of education, the level of commitment of the instructors of GMA, the CEO, everyone. And also the commitment of the people I met while I was there. From cities, like I said, some were only 400 people. Some of the cities were larger than we are. But they all had one thing in common. They all wanted to do well by the city. And they came there for that knowledge to take it back, to make it work for the city. And I think that's an admirable thing. And when you get, it was about 2,600 people with that mindset, there's nothing that can't be done. So it was a great experience. I look forward to it next year. And thanks to each of the council members that were able to go, because you represented well. So with that, I will say good night.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman.
Yeah, hi, good evening, everybody. I just want to take a moment to touch on the concern that was expressed about some of the apartment complexes in District 2. And I know the ladies who made the comments are not here, but just in case they're listening, I just want to commend them on their bravery. And it is so heartbreaking to hear that these are the living conditions that our residents are in. I did visit some of the complexes and a while ago, and they made a lot of promises that things will be fixed. But from what I'm hearing and what I've heard tonight, it sounds like it's time to revisit and implement strategies to ensure that our residents have a conducive home to live in with their families. So that is an initiative that I'll be taking on and working on in the next couple of weeks. And I'm also happy that we're setting up our code enforcement department and hoping that they can also support us in ensuring that we find a conducive living conditions for these residents. And I, again, just want to commend you for speaking up and for coming out tonight to express your concerns. Great seeing you, everyone, and thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Good evening. I'll try to be brief. First, I just want to say thank you so much for the recognition. I typically don't like those kinds of things, tanks, but I'm deeply humbled. I put a lot of work into the Army and all that I've done over my 29-year career. I enjoy working at the federal level. I'm now at the local level, and I really, really do enjoy it. And so I appreciate that. So thank you so much, Mayor and Council and everyone. I do want to say very happy birthday to our own, she just had a birthday, Patricia Auk. Yeah, happy birthday. As well as District 3, Barry Krebs, he just had a birthday as well. And congratulations on your award. And then also, I really enjoyed, to piggyback off of what Councilman Davis was saying about GMA. It's always a wonderful experience, to go there and to network with so many different cities and city officials. And it was also great to see our very own charismatic mayor going up to show our flag. He was really excited about doing that. He had a good time. We captured the essence of what he does best. And so that was a lot of fun. And then, of course, obviously being a city of ethics, we had a lot of great speakers there, and a lot of some key takeaways and highlights that we had at the conference. Was a gentleman that was there. His name is Malcolm. He spoke about our literacy rates being so low. And it really touched me because we have a lot of work that we need to do in being there and supporting our youth. And so we really need to continue to partner with the library and ensure that we, work with them and our school systems to help Georgia. He has a program called Georgia Reads. And so that is very important. We have to get more involved in that and partnering with, again, like our school systems, our educators, to ensure that Georgia does not remain 42 when it comes to our literacy rates. We're way down. And so, again, let's continue to, partner and be a part of that. And then lastly, I want to thank Poder Latinx with wanting to work with the city and partner with us on supporting our Latinx community here in Mableton. And that's all I have. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you, Councilwoman Alt.
No comments, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Ferguson.
This is surreal because a year ago I was in this conversation and we were talking about the GMA conference, and I actually thought that going this year was going to be like, woo, GMA. But what I will tell you is, while I took some classes that were the exact same class, fresh anointing was what I received. So I was extremely, extremely impressed. I'm always extremely impressed with the way that GMA runs that conference. And I was trying to look it up really quick, but the biggest takeaway that I had from the conference was actually in our general session, and one of the keynote speakers. And while we exit out of Men's Mental Health Month, the big thing that he brought up was the whole concept of mental health, the whole concept of understanding your mental health and doing something about it. And the big thing that he was talking about, and he's now a New York Times best-selling author, because he wrote a book about the 100 things that you want to do before you die, and then going out and doing it. And what I saw and what I heard in his time up there on stage, you have these 100 things, and yeah, one of your 100 things might be skydiving, or it might be going to talk to Oprah, or whatever it is. But they also took the time every time they crossed one off to do something for somebody else. And when you have the opportunity to do something for that somebody else, then your stretch gets that much larger, because then they go do something for somebody else, and it just continues down that pipe. So that was the biggest takeaway from me, is start thinking about the 100 things. And actually, me and Councilwoman Jeffcoat actually made the comment, what are the 100 things that we want to do within the city of Mableton before we either leave office or before we get pushed out of office? But excuse me, that's where we are now. It's, what are those 100 things that we want to do for this city? What are those 100 things that I want to do for myself before I expire? So I offer that up to you all as a thought process. His name on Instagram is BENNEMIEMTIN. Ben Minington? Yeah. I encourage you to go look him up. If you didn't get that when I just said it, come ask me and I'll tell you. But go look it up, go look at his website, go look at the things that they're doing, and be really concerned about your mental health and how you continue to grow and nurture yourself. That's all.
Councilman Herndon.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to be very short. During the GMA conference, we, of course, learned about human sex trafficking and labor trafficking, and Georgia ranks about 7 in that area. And so I was given some really good tools to use, and the number one thing is just to be aware. Just be aware of your community. Be aware when something seems like it's not normal. There was a story that was told about a home that looked very normal on the outside, and code enforcement was finally able to get in, and there were 10 rooms that were made just with drywall with padlocks on them, where a number of Hispanic men were being held captive, and they would all go on in a van together and work, and they would all come back. So they were giving tips on just being aware when something seems odd. Just maybe a lot of times we have this mentality, we don't want to get in anyone's business, and I understand it can be scary sometimes, but sometimes people really need help, and if you see something unusual in your community, please have the courage to at least call and try to report it. And that's it. Thank you. See something, say something, yes.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Yeah, I want to just very quickly go over just a few things, some things that happened here locally. Last week, here in this building, actually, we had the State of South Cobb that was hosted here locally, and it was a panel basically with myself, the mayor of Powder Springs, Al Thurman, and the mayor of Austell, Ollie Clemens. And if you missed it, I don't know if they have it online, but it was a really great panel that was put together. It was actually moderated by Dr. Boyd here. And it really showed who we are as South Cobb as we all mature and move forward, as the community as a whole moves forward, and as the evolution of South Cobb kind of continues to grow, and obviously with the addition of the city of Mableton now being an incorporated city and being here. But we're actually able to talk about how we're going to move forward, how we're going to move forward together, how the cities are uniquely different, but also to a large extent how we're in the same boat, so to speak. There was an interesting point that came up where the mayor of Powder Springs had talked about being on an island out in the western part of South Cobb, and then Mayor Clemens kind of echoed the same thing, and I said, well, it's pretty ironic, because if you guys consider yourselves islands, then Mableton is the bridge. Right? We're this connecting piece that's been missing because we have not been a city. So we have not in a lot of ways been able to chart our own destiny, but also we have not been able to partner with the other cities about initiatives and things that are going on. We now have that capability to do so, and we look forward to doing that. I look forward to partnering with the other 2 mayors with other things, as well as Smyrna, on issues and opportunities that we have to make us smarter, to make us smarter and better. In conjunction with that, about being the metaphor about being the bridge between the islands, this week I also found out that, I don't know if many of you know about the huge transportation project that's going on, or will be going on, from 285, top end of 285, basically from right here at 20 all the way around the top end of 285 to the other side on 20. And this week, I made reference to it before because technically the city of Mableton does not touch 285, but every single one of our corridors and thoroughfares somehow does, right? So if you look at what happens at the top end with East-West Connector, and then Veterans Memorial, and then down to Interstate 20. So I made the reference that while we don't touch Interstate, or while we don't touch 285 directly, we definitely are heavily impacted by it. And someone was listening because I got an invite to actually join that policy working group. So Mableton will be officially represented on that. So I'm happy and proud to be able to make reference of that. There was also a continuous movement that's still being made with the South Cobb Transit Hub. This is something that's had public hearings and public input about. As the county looks to move forward, they recognize the importance of South Cobb as it relates to public transit. Public transit, I think, is very important to South Cobb and to Mableton. So with that, there's still progress that's being made on determining the exact site of where that South Cobb Transit Center is going to be. We do know it's going to be somewhere up off of East-West Connector, close to Cobb Hospital, being a concentration of workers and also an intersection between existing buses. And it also puts us pretty close over to Powder Springs and Austell, so they can utilize that. I have advocated and will continue to advocate that we have a second South Cobb Transit Center closer to this area where we know that the needs are high for people that actually use public transit. So I wanted to make sure you're updated on that. And then the South Cobb Healthcare Annex, which you've heard all of us talk about at some point in time, about how important it's going to be to have, to fulfill one of the issues that we have here in Mableton, or at least, so I'll say in the southern part of Mableton, which is access to health care. And so in land not too far from here, we're going to have a specific place set aside to have a healthcare annex. The details of that are still being worked through, but I do sit on the Department of Public Health, and that's something that they've been pushing very much. Our state representatives, we found out there's an effort that's supported not only in voice, but also with dollars from both of our U.S. senators, both Senator Warnock and Senator Ossoff. I do believe have committed funds to help make this healthcare annex a reality. That now is moving forward into the design phase. So there is an organization that's been brought in to help actually do design, what that's going to look like. My push for that is, with the healthcare annex, I want it to look inviting. Don't want it to look like many of the public health care centers where, let's just say, it's not appealing. So the hope around that is that it's aesthetically pleasing, and then obviously we have the type of healthcare professionals that can really provide service where it's much needed here in this part of the county. A couple of trips. GMA was mentioned. Took place in the GMA conference this year, and it was just as fantastic as it was last year. A little more for us, I think, this year because we were able to soak it in a little more, being in office for a while. But the single most important thing that I was able to take away from it is listening to other ideas that other mayors and other council members have and things that they've implemented in their cities. And I don't beg, borrow, or steal. If there's a good idea out there, I want it, and I want to bring it to this city. And so it's fantastic to hear all the great ideas that are out there, as well as the training classes, but really hearing about what other cities have done and their unique challenges and how either they've overcome them or potholes that they've stepped in that hopefully we won't have to. The earlier part of that, of last week, I actually spent in Kansas City with the U.S. Conference of Mayors. It's an annual conference that mayors of cities over 50,000 or 30,000 are able to attend. And in a lot of ways, it's similar to GMA, but I go to that conference as well because it is uniquely different, because groups of mayors talking about the unique challenges that we face, but it also has a lens that shifts to the federal level. So I was able to have some very good conversations with members from the White House, with members from HUD, specifically our regional director from HUD, who was newly established, who I was able to have a fantastic conversation with about things that we could do here in Mableton as it relates to. HUD has a tremendous number of programs. A lot of people think of HUD as just as housing, but there are a lot of programs they have that hopefully we can take advantage of. Also was able to meet with DOT, Department of Transportation, Department of Energy, and again, the same thing, looking at opportunities for funding that they have that we can bring directly back here to the city. Nothing has to go through the state or has to go through the county, but funds that we can look to acquire and be able to do this. I can tell you firsthand that there's mayors across the country that I know, and not just Chicago and LA and New York. There are cities that are our size that are going out getting federal dollars, and I look forward to being able to do the same thing. We build up the capacity here. I think the last part of that was a lot of discussions around the bipartisan infrastructure law, opportunities for funding there, digital equity, the challenges that we have, and also affordable housing is a conversation that it seems like every city in the country is having right now. So we're not the only ones fighting this challenge when it comes to affordable housing. We will continue to work to solving it, to doing the best we can. I'm still working with ARC. They're going to bring resources here into Mableton as well. That was committed, that they will actually serve on our on our Mableton 2045 steering committee. So we'll actually have a member of ARC, which is Atlanta Regional Committee, directly working with us on that, and I'm excited about that. Lastly, I'll simply say, Councilwoman, I know you mentioned about the issues that we have in the apartment complexes, and while we haven't spoken a lot publicly about it, there's a lot of effort that's already been underway, as I think some of that you know of. There will be more to kind of come out of that. There was also some very serious allegations that were made as it relates to the management of the apartment complex. And to just be very transparent about it, those are not issues that we can tackle. There are federal allegations and state allegations that were made that have to be reported to the appropriate parties, and then if investigations and whatnot will be done. As Councilwoman Oladapo said, my heart goes out to them. I have made personal visits to some of the apartment complexes as well, but we have to make sure that we do the proverbial stay in our lane. But I want to be very clear that we are not turning a blind eye to what's happening. There is some very concrete plans that are being put in place. Actually, just today I was speaking with the Atlanta Apartment Association, who covers the entire metro area. So I had a conversation with their representative today to talk about potential things that we could do. And when I asked specifically for who are the managers, who are the names of the apartment complexes, is because we're doing cross-references and doing checks to make sure that we can actually bring those people together and have some substantial conversations. So with that being said, more to come on that topic specifically. But with that being said, though, I would like to now entertain a motion to go into executive session for real estate, personnel, and litigation.
I make a motion to go into executive session for real estate, personnel, and litigation.
I second.
Thank you. Motion has been made and duly seconded. All those in favor of going to executive session for real estate, litigation, and personnel, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Hearing no nays, the ayes have it. We will move into executive session.
5-minute break.
For those of y'all who will not be around afterwards, thank you.